This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the Vehicle Owner's Manual for important feature limitations and information.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's Match Week review then. I'm looking back at the long bank holiday weekend, and for one or two people, it was surely a more long weekend than others, and we'll come to that in a second. Joining me, as always, we've got Mr. Newsome. How are you doing, Hugh?
How are we doing?
And our guest, who I'm told off the record has recovered from Saturday, but we'll come to that in a bit, is Jimmy Lawton from Sawley Cricket Club in Derbyshire. How are you doing, Jimmy?
Hi, hello, everyone.
You keeping well after your, shall we just say, celebration on Saturday night?
Well, celebration's an understatement, but yeah, just about recovered. Yeah, it was a good one.
Well, let's put it bluntly. You didn't have a game on Sunday because you'd got beat in the National Cup the week before or so. Probably a half-decent thing in the end.
Yeah, I think it was a really good friendly for Sawley, if you want to put it that way. It was a really competitive game. It's held us in good stead for this season to come. And we're kind of lucky that we didn't have a game this Sunday after the celebration Saturday night, let's say it that way. So, it was good.
Well, we'll come to that very shortly when we talk about the Derbyshire League in particular. We'll look back at what Mr. Pell did at the weekend, because it was, without a shadow, one of the innings of the week, if not one of the innings of the season. I think we'll be looking back on it. Overall, Hugh, big weekend across the country. I think we've got 23 leagues now up and running. We've got a lot to talk about, lots of performances all over the place, mate.
Yeah, I'm already losing track, so good start. I think we've got Wales kicked off, north and south. Most of the leagues, obviously, that were happening, managed games. The Whipple started. We're off and running. So yeah, I think the vast majority of leagues off and running. Just those sort of ones in the sort of London area around there that are just for some reason just chilling for another week. Well, sensibly, because they want a decent wicket to play on there. I think what it is, I think they're all precious of their batting averages, aren't they, down there? They refuse to play on dodgy wickets, bit of dampness. They want nice, warm summer's days to have cups of tea and boost those averages. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Absolutely nothing to do with anything else.
Okay, so to my friends at Hornchurch Cricket Club, Wargrave Cricket Club, how many more do you want me to... No, Swansea started, to be fair. Yeah. You're probably right. I can picture one or two of the lads at Hornchurch. Muzza, you'll be desperate to look after your average. Dan Lincoln at Wargrave, not really sure about that one. We'll see.
They're just hard on the bowlers. They just don't want to give the bowlers anything, do they?
Yeah, they only play these 18 games a season. Jimmy's looking, thinking, 18 games? What's that? I mean, can't get your head around that, can you?
We're ridiculously short, that.
Hey, let's start with the performances of the week, as we always do now, and we're going to start with the batters. And we've got you on, Jimmy, and our number one performance of the week in the 23 Premier Leagues that were up and running last weekend was Mr. Kieran Pell. So for those of you who don't know, San Diego are playing Sawley, who Jimmy plays for. San Diego and Sawley are, let's put it bluntly, rivals. It was the one game on the fixture list that Sawley were looking forward to more than any other when they were coming back up. And they got tonked a little bit, for about 250, wasn't it, when you were bowling? And
yeah.
I think, look at the figures to start with, mate. They look as though they went after you.
Touch, yeah. I didn't bowl my best, don't get me wrong.
So they did go after you then?
Yeah, they got after me, and 253 we felt was above par on that deck, to be honest with you. And it'd take a hell of a chase, a couple of big innings for us to chase it down. And yeah, Kieran Pell played probably the best innings I've ever seen, and I don't say that lightly. It was, some of the shots he played to chase that down was ridiculous. I know it's live streamed, and if anyone wants to go and watch it, I do back you to do so. It was a really special knock, and probably the one of the season so far. I haven't seen many other games, but it has to be right up there for me.
Well, it's right at the top of our stats. I think it's the top score. I've included Monday because there's a few games lurking around there. But yeah, it's the top score in the country in any Premier League game this weekend. So yeah, it's certainly in a difficult season so far, it's the best knock going. Well, if we ignore Stewie Pointer's 252 last week.
Yeah, there was Stewie Pointer's last week, 200 plus, but there's a difference between that 200 and this 120 odd chasing down 250 odd on a deck that I don't think you fancied it badly. You could see at the very start it was going to be difficult. But Kieran, he took his time to build into the innings, Jimmy, didn't he? He didn't go off like a rocket.
If we're honest, we spoke in the changing room before the game, and we took a bit of notes after the way they played it. They scored a lot of runs in the last 10 overs. San Diego really, I think they must have got about 80 and 90 in the last 10, and really targeted the short end of the boundary. And me and Kieran spoke before and said, look, let's leave some wickets in the bank towards the back end of the innings, and and chaseable as long as we can set it up in the right way. And we both gave ourselves a bit of time, and Kieran went on and took it right to him towards the back end, like you wouldn't believe, especially with their bowling attack. Some really experienced heads in their team, and for him to do that at such a young age only shows his potential, and there's definitely more to come from him, 100%.
Tell me, he spent the winter in Australia, if I remember rightly.
We spent 3 months in South Africa with our current overseas, Reece Jackson, stayed together. I believe is looking at doing a similar thing as well next winter. But yeah, you can see after his comeback, full of confidence. I'm sure he got some runs out there as well, and you can see it is a player that's bursting with confidence at the minute, and that showed Saturday. I mean, some of the shots he played, you look stupid if they don't come off. But I mean, wow, yeah, really special.
It was, and I mean, you lost Gary Burley. 4 for 1 you guys were, and you come in at number 3. Gary being an experienced campaigner for you guys at the top of the order there. You must have gone in there thinking you literally might as well have opened in the first place. And you got, was it 69, I think you got yourself, and then you batted for a long time with Kieran in that partnership. Could you see, even when you got out, that you were on for it? 'Cause it still looked tight, didn't it?
Well, to be honest with you, I say it to anyone when we talk about Sawley. Our real strength is our lower order batting. And I'll say that to anyone. We've got some real depth in our 11 and in our squad more than anything. I think we've got some real depth with the bat, and lads coming in when the game is set up, it's their game. They come in and they look to take it on. And like I said before, if me and Kieran were able to buy a bit of time for the lads down the order coming in, we believed if we could go at 6s, 7s for 10 overs, and then in the last 10 at 10s or 9s or whatever it ended up being, we'd chase it down. I believe we set the game up pretty well. I'm not sure what the partnership ended up on, but it felt like a lot. It felt like we batted for a long time. Yeah, he continued on where I got out pretty cheaply, trying to slog across the line, and then Kieran just took it to him. And the lads that came in as well, yeah, they want any high scores, don't get me wrong, but they ran between the wickets really well, and that can't be overstated, especially at the end of the game. Running between the wickets is where it's the most key. I think if you're able to turn 1s into 2s and 2s into 3s, all of a sudden that score becomes less and less, and you're not chasing as much, and you don't need as many boundaries. So yeah, but what Kieran did, like I said before, can't be understated. It was amazing.
Okay, one final question on that though. It sounds amazing. It sounds like we'd love to be on the side, but you had needed 30 off the last 2 overs. Be honest. Sat there, needed 30 off the last 2 overs. Did you really think he was going to do it? There's only us listening.
Yes, I did. I honestly, hand on heart, I know what he can do. I was nervous as hell. Don't get me wrong. Head in hands, not basically sweating on the balcony, not because of the heat, but yeah, I think he hit 1-6 off Dan in the last over where he basically fell over.
Yeah,
and ever since then, I just thought he's going to do it here. After he hit that, I thought, yeah, that's it.
I would urge anyone who's listening to this to just watch that last over. Kieran's batting against a bowler in Dan Wheeldon who's got 900 plus wickets on play cricket. This is not a bowler who is used to being smacked like that in the first place. I think Dan's done 50, 60 wickets each of the last 2 or 3 years. Very experienced campaigner. You could even see on the very last ball, Bill Anderson, the Sandacre captain, taking his glove off, ready to pounce if the ball come through. They were on it because it was a proper rivalry game, this, wasn't it? And the celebration at the end of it was brilliant.
It was. When he hit that first 6, I remember looking to Josh and thinking, wow, this could be happening. This could be happening here. But yeah, like you say, Dan, I'm not sure of his record, but all I know, with the respect he has around the league, that
absolutely
he is probably, if not the top bowler in the league. And for Kieran to do that, it just...
You do realise that you've wound Dan Wheeldon up now and you've wound Sandacre up. I mean, you could have left it till later in the season, lads, but I mean, you've done it in game 2 and you know what they're going to be like for the rest of the year now, don't you?
I know, and that's what we've got to be expecting, and the return fixture on West Park. I'm not sure exactly what week that we play him in, but yeah, we'll be right up for it. I'm sure they'll be right up for it, and it'll be a hell of a game, so stay tuned.
Definitely. Hey, we'll have a look at the rest of the Derbyshire Premier League shortly, but looking around those Premier League batters, who else stood out for you on last weekend then, Hugh?
Yeah, we've got Chris Holliday at Townville, Bradford with 113 off 117 balls. Great start there. Gus Miller on Northants books, Northants player at Geddington, 113. Joe Pocklington for Farsley, 108 off 158 balls. That's a cracking score for him. And then we've got Harry Barkley for Chorley in the Northern Prem, 107, which I'm going to flag up because he averaged 14 last season in the league. He scored 118 runs in 13 games and he's got 107, I think, in his second game. So, yeah, cricket's a funny game, isn't it? And it's proved right there. So he's basically matched last season's tally in one knock.
And your favourite batter, I think, in the whole country, with one of the top scorers that took at the weekend for Richmondshire.
Oh, well, Gary Pratt, yeah. He's just a legend, isn't he? The legend that is Gary Pratt. So the leading ECB Premier League run scorer of all time. Still going 102 off 90 balls for Richmondshire. Just keeps churning it out. I mean, what is he, 40 plus now? 42, 43, 44, 45?
I'm guessing. and actually one of the better strike rates amongst all the tons that this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at his stats, I mean, he's like the play cricket legend. I think, his career in the club game really took off as play cricket sort of came about. So he's the one who has probably put up the most runs, like you say, in play cricket. And just looking at his averages through the year, every season, averaging 40, 50, 60, 50, 50. It just doesn't stop. I mean, last season, he had 36 games on play cricket that he played, average of 54. So, yeah, just keeps churning it out. What a legend.
Let's look at the bowlers. Let's get stuck straight into the bowlers because we're going to talk about the Derbyshire League shortly. There's 2 standouts for me. We may have mentioned this when you've been talking elsewhere. Rayan Ahmed playing for Cavaliers and Carrington and coming up with zip when it came to the number of wickets that he took. But it didn't really matter because his brother managed to take 6 for 8, Farhan Ahmed. Now, 6 for 8 most weeks is going to put you right up there. It only puts you in 4th place, I think, in the national listings this week. Because at the very top for Hucknall Cricket Club, Jake Wright with 8 wickets for 6 runs off 8.4 overs. I'm going to say here and now, unless somebody sees a 9 for or a 10 for this season, that will not be beaten.
Well, there will be a 9 for and a 10 for, won't there, at some point? I would think. Maybe not a 10 for, but I think we've had a few chaotic 9 fors last season. But yeah, it's a bit of a skittling of my old club, Ragford-on-Trent. They've not started off great, but wonderful performance from him. 9 overs basically for 6 runs is good enough without the wickets, chucking 8 wickets. Yeah, that's he's certainly done himself proud there. We've got Matthew Horwath as well. He got 8 for 21.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 8-fors in the weekend, kind of sign of not a huge amount of runs, but a lot of wickets. Sam Sharp Kendall 7 for 12. I mean, that's not so bad. That's 15 overs, 12 runs or 15 overs. And then old mate Sumit Ruakar up and running 7 for 60 off 28 overs in the Liverpool comp. Bowled his heart out there, but again, he's going to prove a force. I think he got 45 odd with the bat. The one thing about Farhan Ahmed down there for Cavs, he was picked in England under 19 squad. Yeah. Bit of a grumble over his age. You know, it's a bit of a tricky one, the 19s, pushing sort of older off spinners out. He's a right arm offie. Mm-hmm. And did he deserve it, I suppose, was the question. Well, looking at these stats,
he deserved it.
Yes, is the answer. He looks a serious talent to go with his brother. Don't know what they were feeding him in the Ahmad family, but that's some family. I mean, just imagine the backyard games. You're not getting a run, are you?
Oh dear, just big fabulous family games. Backyard cricket with the Ahmeds on that just would be its own series, wouldn't it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you just go, right, let's prod forward. Oh, gone. Definitely. Mum and Dad just in constant rotation, just not getting a look in with those two bowling. You know, I can't imagine the deck was that good either in the backyard. So, yeah.
I have a funny feeling, though, the Lawton family are a bit like that.
Probably not to that calibre. I've got to be honest.
Definitely that competitive, though.
Very much so.
How many Lawtons are there, Jimmy?
Just me and my old man. But trust me, he's seen a few bounces in his time.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And bear in mind that Jimmy doesn't bowl seam.
No, but I'm still steaming in. Yeah. Still.
Head high beamer.
Yeah.
Hey, one of the bowlers I want to pick out is Rory Hayden of Leek. They had a bit of a day. So Leek were playing Hemheath, champions of the North Staffs and South Cheshire League last year. Leek scored 126 all out. And then between Rory Hayden and Joshua Hudson, they skittled the champions of North Staffs and South Cheshire Hemheath for 38. Rory taking 6 for 28 on Saturday, and Josh Hudson taking 3 for 6. For any club to go in defend their championship, we know is a difficult thing in the Premier Leagues. But to be skittled in your first game for 38, that's a tough comeback, isn't it?
Yeah, there's not many runs in that league. Stowe managed 225. That was the top effort. Pretty much everybody else is scratching around at 100. Sorry, JG Meakin, who I think they've come up this year, haven't they, JG Meakin?
They have.
I think so. Tip to do well. They put 200 on the board and won as well. So there's a couple of 200s both winning comfortably.
And all I'll say is, if you listen to the previous episode with Chris Travers, who did a preview of the North Staffs and South Cheshire League, his exact words were, score 200 in this league and you very, very, very rarely get beat. It's a low-scoring league in comparison to the one just north of it in Cheshire, where if you've only scored 200, you might as well pack up and go home there and then. So he was bang on with what he said, but I think even Chris would be surprised at some of the low scores of the weekend.
Yeah, I think we should probably jump to the Cheshire League now, shouldn't we, and see see if we can prove you wrong.
Go on then. I'm in the Cheshire League right now. And you know what? The top two games straight away, averaging 220 runs each per innings. So he's bang on. You're literally miles apart, and I'm talking handful of miles apart, and there's loads of runs versus bugger all runs.
Yeah, well, there's some good tracks in the Cheshire League. We've got Chester Broughton Hall. There's going to be some NCCA action at Chester Broughton Hall shortly, and 246 runs there, so that's obviously a good deck. Beating Didsbury. That's right. Grappenhall won again as well in Cheshire, so they've started off the season really nicely.
And can I shout out to Grappenhall to the overseas Tom McCreary, 67 off 43 balls.
Oh, he's a big lad, yeah.
He's a bit of a gun, I think is the phrase to put it.
They had him at 6 or 7 last year mostly, and I think they've just shoved him up, given him a job, and he's doing that job very nicely. He's about 6'7" tall off spinner. Yeah. So he's in for his bowling, and his batting's doing a lot of the talking and winning them games already, which is what you want from your overseas. I'm told that he's a cracking lad. Spends most of his week on his mountain bike scooting around Wales,
and that's the insight that you'll get from the Premier League Cricket Show.
That's it. Yeah, it's more interesting than the cricket, isn't it?
Oh, such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com's primetime kickoff event. Save up to 50% off select styles, plus doorbusters. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Let's get back to the cricket in Derbyshire, shall we? Let's have a quick look around the Derbyshire League, Jimmy. And for those who don't know the Derbyshire League, we are obviously lucky to know it quite well, myself and you. It's our local league as well. Still quite a big spread in terms of how far the clubs are all apart. We've got the guys on the border, like Sandy Acre, right on the Derbyshire-Nottinghamshire border as well. Small number of clubs around the Derby area. But there's definitely some quality going through the roof in one or two areas right now in terms of the amount of people that were attracted, isn't it?
A lot of new faces to the league this year. I think we've attracted about 3-4 new faces to the league, and I think that's very familiar around different teams as well. So a lot of new faces and a lot of people getting accustomed to playing against new players as well, because it is a very, you play against the same players every year, isn't it? In cricket, and it takes a couple of games knowing who these new players are going to be and how good they are. So, but yeah, it's been a very active sort of transfer window, if you want to call it that, over the winter. So yeah.
Who stood out for you in terms of coming to the league?
Well, Otbrook's overseas. Apparently, he bowls pretty quick.
Mr. Shamar Holder.
Yeah, can't wait to be facing him in whenever we do. Yeah, that'll be a right challenge. Bang up for that.
Yeah, can I just point out at the weekend that Otbrook managed to have Shamar Holder, Sam Connors and Dustin Melton all playing in the same side. I wonder how often that's going to happen, because that's a bowling lineup, isn't it?
Well, that's a first-class lineup, if you want to call it that. But yeah, it's a right challenge for all the teams around, put it that way. It
was a tough start for Belper, coming up against them in their second or third game into the Premier League. So yeah, they've started pretty well, Belper, but yeah, didn't last too long there, all out for 86, and Otbrook knocked it off 3 down.
Who else has stood out for you, Jimmy, coming through into the league this year?
Am I biased in saying Kieran Powell? Might be a bit of biasm going on there. Obviously, he's just scored a ton, but he's one to look out for sure.
Did you play with him youth cricket, Jimmy?
So, obviously our captain as well, Josh Glover, we all kind of played age group cricket together. Josh and Kieran went to the same school, so we're all kind of good friends and grew up together kind of thing. And yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for at Sawley, a nice youth culture kind of trying to build. So
based on the winter, I follow a lot of clubs, Twitter, quite active on Twitter, and Sawley were one of the most active in the country, really, really proactive with their signing announcements, with the sort of getting training up and running. It seemed a really positive mood coming out of Sawley's Twitter account, and it seems to have reflected on the pitch.
Well, I think, I don't know exactly, but I know we went on a heavy run last year, wins. I know I wasn't a part of the club, but Sawley as a whole, I think they won about 10 plus on the bounce to secure promotion, and that's kind of carried on this year in the league, where we've gone back-to-back wins, and there's a really good atmosphere around the club at the minute, from the first team all the way down to the fourth team. It's just kind of winning breeds that kind of confidence in the team, and that's what we've got at training. Everyone's competing for spots. We've got some real good second teamers who can easily make the first team if they need to fill in. And they're better than fill-ins, put it that way. And there's a real good competition for places at the minute. And if you don't get a few scores, or, you're struggling with the ball, people are starting to look over their shoulder in the right way. And that's what you need at a cricket club, I think. You need some competition for places. I know it's not professional cricket, but it's as close as it can be. And you need that, a bit of, competition in the right way to get the best out of people. And that's what we're kind of building.
I think one of the things you've got, Jimmy, as well, is that you've possibly got one of the youngest squads in the Premier League, and certainly one of the youngest leadership teams with yourself and Josh Glover.
100%. Obviously, we're inexperienced at the Premier League level, but I'd like to think we're quite experienced for our age. We've obviously played a lot of cricket, me and Josh. A lot of people won't know, but our dad's played at Sawley, and we followed him ever since we were 1-2. Every week, me and Josh at the games. So it's kind of a real family affair at Sawley. And it's just kind of building through. And, we've got a young team to go with us as well. And that helps in the field, running between the wickets, all these things that contribute to cricket matches. Obviously, we've got some experienced players in our team as well. Carl Cruz, who's been around the block, as you like to say. He knows his cricket, that is there to help. And Gary Burley, obviously. So we've got some experienced cricketers as well but We are a young leadership group, and like I say, inexperienced at the level. We've got a lot of experience behind us, and we've both captained at different levels as well. Yeah. So it's not like we've not done it before. So yeah, I think the future's looking bright, put it that way, at Sawley Cricket Club.
Go on, the obvious question. Who's the better cricketer, you or your old man, Josh or his old man?
Oh, Mike, you put me on the spot there.
That's our job.
Out of respect, I'd say our old man.
Well said, because I know your dad follows us, so you've definitely said the right thing there, otherwise there'll be real trouble.
Yeah, out of respect. But
can we caveat it by saying, but it's a different game today?
It's a different game today, you're right. You're right, Ian. You are right.
There we go.
And if he was to bowl at me now, I'd smack him everywhere, so you can clip that one.
We will probably clip that one, together with, I am recording at the beginning when you were talking about the bouncers that you were bowling as well, so maybe that could... In fact, I'm looking forward to that game at West Park, when Sandy Acre are playing you and you surprise... Who can you surprise? Dan Wheeldon with a bouncer, that'd be quite fun when you're coming to bowl in your spin.
No, because I know I'll be getting one the other way, and only a madman would do that, put it that way. Only a madman would do that.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, it'd be great to... Some of the fixtures that you've got coming up in the coming weeks, though, and the T20s that you're going to have, I think there's going to be a battle between possibly half a dozen teams this year in the league, isn't there?
Well, we're obviously not dumb. Obviously, we've won a couple of games, but our aim at Sawley, we don't want to lose track of that and staying humble and saying, anywhere above 10th or 10th is a fantastic achievement for us in our first league in the league. Mm-hmm. First time in the league, sorry. That is our main aim, and obviously we've won 2 games to start the season.
Yeah.
But let's not get carried away, and we know we're going to be fighting, and every point matters. Let's not lose track of that. But I think at the top of the table, it'll be your usual candidates. I think Hotbrook looks strong this year. I think Swarkston looks strong this year. Obviously, I know we beat Sandy Acre, but they're still a hell of a team. Mm-hmm. Denby as well. So in Spondon, you've got 5 or 6 in there that you can throw in as real competitors at the top end of the table. And let's not lose track of where we are. And if we can, keep this momentum going, yeah, sky's the limit. But our aim is anywhere above 10th. But yeah, that's us.
Well, it's quite a mix start for the teams that you would fancy towards the top of the table, with Sandy Acre and Denby, neither of them winning in 2 games. And like yourself, Belper put points on the board already. Swarkston, they've had a win and a cancellation. It's just A and B looking strong at the top. So actually, Spondon a win and a loss.
A and B as well, you can throw in.
Yeah, it's wide open. And normally you wouldn't say that about the Derbyshire League, I wouldn't have thought.
No, most seasons it's your usual candidates, isn't it? Probably for the last 5-6 years. But it's obviously early days, don't get me wrong. We're only 2 weeks into the year, and we're not hedging our bets just yet, but
plenty of time to go.
Yeah, we're confident.
Let's look at the young players around the league. Is there anyone you can point out to listeners to look out for during the season in particular?
Obviously, you've got your usual candidates: Archie Harrison, Mitchell Wagstaff. I think they're your usual candidates at Derbyshire and stuff like that. We've got obviously Josh Glover, Kieran Powell, Nafis Sheikh at A and B, who's a really good player. They're all dotted about, and if I've missed anyone off that list, I am sorry. Alex Leam and Charlie Wilson at Denby, who are going to be playing Saturday. So there are some really good young players around the league, and it'll be interesting to see how these next 5 or 6 years go. I know that's looking very long term, but seeing how some of these players kind of develop and how far they're going to take their careers in cricket, if that's what they're looking to pursue, because that's obviously some of these lads' aims. And if they can, it'd be amazing. Just to say that I've played with against some of these players that are progressing through the system, and that's the whole point of club cricket, isn't it? To try and get as many professional cricketers that we can develop. If there's a few lads that do make it, then all credit to them, because that's the whole point of why we're here and why we're doing it. So
best thing to be able to say, I was a professional cricketer myself, is to say I stood on the same pitch with him and I played against him, isn't it? And I think me and Hugh are definitely in the latter and not the former there, aren't we, mate?
Yeah, I've not played with many. I'm more footballers, but less cricketers.
As we said last week, every week we're going to be looking for the CricX Performance of the Week around the country. CricX, the leading agency for bringing overseas professionals into this country when it comes to Aussies, New Zealanders, Sri Lankans. They're all over the place with players all up and down the country. And joining us once again, Matt Taff from CricX. How you doing, mate?
Very well, Ian. Good to be back on once again.
Yeah, good to see you, mate. Just got to ask, did you get a little game in yourself for the weekend?
Yeah, we got some form of a game, and it was very wet. Came away with a draw, so First time on grass of the year, so got it out of the way and we'll move on from there.
It's wet grass. That sounds very familiar for the last few weeks, doesn't it, Hugh? Definitely.
So playing with essentially a sponge and in the clouds is, but no, not in Derbyshire. It's been fantastic. It's hardly rained for 2 weeks.
We've had a good one, definitely. Hey, let's look at those performances of the week. What you got for us, Matt?
Yeah, perfect. So I'll start with the batting up top here. So we've had South African Garnet Tar for Salisbury Cricket Club. He struck 98. He's been the batting number one performance of the weekend. We've had a Vishka Thurindu. He blasted 90 off 43 balls for Bracebridge Heath in a T20, 7 sixes and 6 fours. So he really took some bowlers down there. Then we've had Australian Patrick Rowe, 75 not out in the national knockout for Banstead. He's a promising Victorian cricketer over in Australia. We had Dylan Perris, 71 not out for Burbridge and Eastern Royal. Visharaj Jadeja for 71 for Wickersley Old Village. And that sums up the batting for this week. So
that's what came out of your stable. We're gonna throw one or two in there as well. We've got Jimmy Lawton here from Sawley, who had the privilege of being at the other end of the pitch, while Kieran Pell was, I'm going to say, slowly but surely demolishing Sandy Acre, because he didn't start off fast, but he definitely finished fast at the end. Kieran with 138 not out. That's going to be up there in our awards without a shadow, isn't it, Hugh?
Absolutely. Yeah, a hell of a performance from Kieran. And Sawley coming up into that league this season, they've just had an air about them, haven't they, Sawley, in the off-season. They've been very, very proactive, and you had a feeling that they were going to be able to do something and to knock over Sandy Acre. And the first time they played them this season, absolutely fantastic. And it wasn't just, with Jimmy Lawton, 69, Kieran Pell, 138, those two really, they were crucial to the run chase there. Absolutely fantastic performance from the pair of them. Not a huge amount of help from the rest of the teammates, but with Kieran top of the stats with 138 off 130 balls, 9 fours, 7 sixes. Hell of a performance.
Some other names in your list, Hugh, from around the country that you've picked up on?
I've not included Monday yet, so I'm going to do a little bit of work. We'll get the Mondays in as well, but we've got 800s throughout the country as it stands. The 138 not for Kieran Pell, Chris Holliday at Townville in the Bradford League, 113 off 117 balls, and then just going down, there's a name that we all know and we all love, Richmondshire, Gary Pratt, still going, still running out Ricky Ponting on 2005. That will never go away. He must get fed up with it, but 102 not out off 90 balls for Richmond. So
and some interesting surnames further down the list as well, but relations or not, we've got Zakir Kawaja, Zibis Deploy, and Jack Gower all in the same list. It's not a bad week to have well-known cricketing names in there, is it?
That's it. I don't think I asked the Kawaja whether there was a Kawaja link last year. There's not many Kawajas about, or certainly in my recollection, and he's not a relation of
Usman.
That's the one. Usman Kawaja. Chris Laker, obviously Jim's son. Yeah,
another one as well. We keep finding them.
Laker in there.
If I was to point anything out in the batting stats this week, very northern based.
Absolutely, yeah. I still think we've got some of the southern leagues still yet to get going. But yeah, it seems, I think the north, it's all weather. We just talk about the weather constantly, don't we? But it seems to be very weather based at the moment, and through the middle of the country certainly was a much tidier weekend than many other places. But Jimus Deploy at Kimberley, I think he's Lewis's brother. He had 91 not out in a win for them. So good performance.
Definitely. Let's have a look at those bowlers. Matt, who you got in the Cricket stable who's performed exceptionally well over the weekend?
Yes, it's been a weekend dominated by spin. I'm sure we'll get used to saying that, but
Can we just record that and just use it every week?
Yes, we've had Sri Lankan left arm spinner Delanka Orworth, 7 for 35 for Ainsdale Cricket Club this week. He tops a poll for bowlers, and then moving on, we've had Tony Miyonga with 6 for 35 for Wickford. Manyak Mishra, 6 for 31 at Cleethorpes. Again, another left-arm spinner. And I think we can record a little bit more and add that on, the left-arm spin, just dominating. Sandham Madhushankar, 5 for 17 for Ramsey. Dushan Vimukti, he's taken 9 wickets over the weekend. He's played Saturday and Monday. He's gone 5 for 22 and 4 for 74 for Townville. Ravi Karunaratne, 5 for 22. And then backing up his 75 last weekend is Shreyansh Ghosh, 5 for 44 for Hatherley. And that sums our bowling performances up all the weekend.
Some decent numbers there, isn't there, Hugh, that we can definitely intersperse into what we've got into our list here. But Yeah, I'm going to pick a name out right at the top of our list straight away, in fourth place on our list. Farhan Ahmed, playing in the same team as his brother. So Rayan opens the bowling for Cavaliers and Carrington. Don't know why he's in the test team, didn't take a wicket. Farhan Ahmed, 6 for 8 for Cavaliers and Carrington, which most weeks would put you near the top of the very list when it comes to National Premier League bowling honours. But in the same league, in Nottinghamshire Premier League, and CricX tweeted about this at the weekend themselves, Jake Wright, 8 for 6 for Hucknall. Comment on that one, because I think Radcliffe's one of your own.
It is. Well, it's my first club. Yeah, not great. I've lived in. Do you know what? I've lived in Hucknall, Kimberley, and Radcliffe. So I'm going to claim my Hucknall allegiance today. I just live next to cricket grounds. That's what it is. But no, that's a hell of a performance, and I think Radcliffe. They've not started the season brilliantly, I don't believe. You know, with the weather we've had this week, I'm not sure you can necessarily blame the pitch. So yeah, it's not an all-star performance from them, but what a performance from Jake there. Absolutely fantastic.
I think the most phenomenal thing about Jake's performance was it was his first ever fifer.
Is that right? There we go.
First ever fifer, I understand. 8 for 6, not going to go wrong there. Again, the Nottinghamshire League, clearly a lot of wickets being taken around Nottinghamshire and Leicestershire at the weekend. Who else was in your list there, Hugh? All right.
The one that stands out, Sumit Ruakar, who was injured for a fair chunk of last year, runs and wickets for him, 7 wickets for 60 versus Rainhill. So it's a terrific performance for him. Tom pointed him out and said he's going to be a force to be reckoned with again this year after getting over injury. And there we go, straight away. 28 overs he gets to bowl, though, in the Liverpool comp. So it's a little bit unfair on some of the other lads.
28 overs?
Yeah, bowled 28, bowled unchanged straight through. It doesn't seem fair to some of the other lads in the sort of stakes of whether you're allowed to sort of compete in this league when these sort of stats charts when you're allowed to bowl 3 times as many overs as some other players, but still 28 overs for 60 runs. It's a hell of a performance and incredibly tidy.
I think the others that I'd point out a little bit further down the list, but phenomenal figures. A couple of fifers down in the list where you got Braden Shaper, 5 for 5 off 5.3 overs for York. York are on a bit of a roll already, aren't they? And George Taylor, 5 for 6 for Edgerton off 5 overs. I mean, you know, when you compare to Summit 28 overs, and these guys are taking 5 wickets in 5 overs, some phenomenal bowling performances still going on up and down the country.
Yeah, it's not a batsman's paradise just yet.
Not in the slightest. Let's very quickly have a look at the all-rounders, shall we, Hugh? Sumit Ruakar at the top of the list, full stop.
Absolutely, yeah. These aren't including Monday, so there will be some more from Monday going into next week. But yeah, we've got Hayatullah Niazi, who big performer last year, 105 runs and 4 wickets. Joe Pocklington, 108 runs, 3 wickets, and Mitch Wagstaff, who's currently playing Derby 2s, and he's playing for A and B. After shifting from Spondon, the top performance from him, 82 off 124 balls and 4 wickets to go with it. So that's a flagship performance for him and his new club.
So we've got a great list of batters and bowlers there from the CricX stable and from elsewhere around the country. We'll be putting 4 of them onto our poll on Wednesday once again, and we'll be looking for the CricX performance of the week. Will it be Kieran Pell and his outstanding ton plus to win the game, chasing down 250 for Sawley? Or will it be one of the bowlers who've 8 for 6 Jake Wright, or one of the 7-fers that have, with some top figures around there? So thanks a lot for your time again, Matt, and we'll look forward to catching up with more performances of the week next week from CricX.
Perfect. Yep. See you next week.
So we got underway in Birmingham last weekend. Nolan Dorridge got off to a good start, beating Barnard's Green. Quite a tight match, but they carried on the good form that they had last year. Kenilworth Wardens, they caught Himley chasing 196, got 197 for 4 with 1 over to spare. But the big runs at the weekend was at West Bromwich Dartmouth, where West Bromwich Dartmouth were bowled out for 196, chasing down 277 from Hales Owen. And unusually, when you've got a score as big as 277, nobody with a ton in there. Only one person with a 60, would you believe? So it's quite an interesting game down at West Bromwich Dartmouth. They're obviously a ground that Staffordshire use quite a lot for their NCCA stuff as well. So I'd be interested to watch what goes on there. We've already had a look at Cheshire.
But South Wales, I think only 2 games managed in South Wales. At Swansea with the win, take the season off there. Good friend of the podcast, Brad, I think he got 30, but St Fagan's got a win as well, 237. There's two decent scores on the board. So Swansea beating Cardiff.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed who took wickets. Did you see who took wickets for St Fagan's there?
Didn't.
Yeah.
I'm about to.
Owen Morgan.
Is that right?
Yeah, Owen Morgan, spelled completely differently, but it's good to say Owen Morgan took Pfeiffer. Yeah, I don't think the other Owen Morgan ever took a wicket, never mind a Pfeiffer, but he took 5 for 17.
I think he'll have had a wicket or 2 along the way.
Somewhere.
So South Wales, disappointing just the 2 games. I assume the rest were lost to the weather. North Wales up and running again. I don't think that was a full complement of games. Oh, maybe yes, it was full complement of games. Quite solid scores on the board there. Just Bangor beating Llandudno 146-91. Good win for them. Denby in a very, very tight game. Just got home against Gresford and Menai Bridge, which I love that bridge area. That whole. I hope you can see I don't know if you can see the bridge from their ground, but it's a lovely little spot there. I love going up there with the kids. So I have a warm heart for Menai Bridge. So they got a win against that. I'm going to struggle to pronounce this. I'm very sorry. My Welsh in-laws would hate me. Gwisholt Park, 171 all out. We'll go with that.
Let's jump down to one of our favourite leagues, the West of England Premier League, where they got underway at the weekend, and there was a very famous name getting started down there. Remember this name? Carlos Brathwaite. Now, remember what happened last year in the Birmingham League on his debut? I think, was his car stolen when he had his debut? Not heard of any problems down at Bridgewater. He scored 28 runs for Bridgewater in their game against Bishopston. They won quite easily by 49 runs, not the biggest scoring game. Whereas our good friends at Bath Cricket Club decided to have an absolute run fest and scored 290 for 9 in their first game of the season off their 50 overs. Unusually, one of their star batters from last year, Jack Scrivens, was out quite early on for 4, but it didn't matter because the boys later on did the job, including Sam Young, one of our NCCA friends. He scored 69 off 56 balls, and James Arney, 66 off 76 balls. And it was a comfortable win by 86 runs down there for Bath, who look, not surprisingly, very strong at the start of the season. We would have expected that.
Very solid. Very solid all the way down in that card, isn't it? I mean, there's top scorer 69, but it's very, very evenly spread the runs. So a fearless performance from Bath, you'd say, just going out start to finish and scoring quickly from ball one and not being afraid to lose a wicket because they know they've got the depth.
Most definitely. And the other league that we talked about last week when we did our previews was the Southern Premier League. And just like on the North Staffs, Burridge, the champions from last year, got turned over by Havant. So Havant scored 132 and then bowled Burridge out for 85, not quite the 38 of Hemheath. But again, champion team come through, first game of the season, and you've got Chris Morgan, 3 for 15, Chris Stone, 3 for 7, doing the damage there to bowl them out. And if I remember rightly, Hugh, when we were talking about the preview of the Southern Premier League last week, it was commented on that maybe 1 or 2 people were surprised that Burridge had won that league last year.
Interesting that we've got a couple of games cancelled in that
including
league.
Bournemouth, who we spoke to last week.
Yeah, Bournemouth. But the Hampshire Academy, obviously with the facilities there, we're going to be able to get the game on. So if we are in a difficult summer, then they're going to do quite well in the lack of cancellation department.
Yeah, you don't have the privilege of that one in the Derbyshire League, do you, there, Jimmy? Where in the Southern Premier League, the Hampshire Academy play as a Premier League side. You don't exactly have that in the Derbyshire League. Would you fancy that, having the Derbyshire Academy playing against you every week?
I think it's a good idea. I really do. It's a bit of a revolving door with the Academy, don't get me wrong, because I think there'll be new players every year, but I think it's a good idea. Why not?
Well, here's a rule that they have down in the Southern Premier League. If you play for the Hampshire Academy and you also play, let's just pick a club off the top of my head, Bournemouth, you actually can end up playing for both sides week in, week out. You can end up playing against the same teams. So you actually can, if Hampshire Academy pick you, that takes precedence.
Wow.
What are the tees like in the Derbyshire Prem? Because we were talking about the Hampshire Academy having the best tees going. So are there any tees left in the Derbyshire Prem?
If I'm correct, there's only one, and it's Sawley.
Good lad.
And I'll tell you what, it's probably the only reason I came back, if I'm honest.
Okay, well, that is the clip.
That's a lie, but the teas are amazing. Yeah, all credit to the tea ladies, Sarah, Lauren, Tyler, whoever decides to do it on their day. But yeah, amazing teas. Usually a hot meal, some chicken nuggets or pizzas or whatever's on the side. First game we had shepherd's pie, so that's just an example of what the girls do. So yeah, it's a fantastic tea.
Hampshire need to pull their fingers out, I think, don't they? Hampshire, come on, Hampshire.
I'd love to know how many times in the 11 home games this season Sawley actually field first.
Well, this is the problem, because obviously I'm batting 3 currently. Anyway, I'm batting 3, and in our first game, I think my tea was a pizza and a chicken nugget, because I had to go out and bat.
It'll be an interesting one to watch.
Well, hopefully somebody's putting some to one side for you for later, rather than scoffing it all.
100%.
Hey, let's keep going around the country and just pick out some of the results that we've seen over the weekend. East Anglian Premier League. What can we say about that one, Hugh?
Well, I mean, the big news coming out of the winter in the East Anglia Premier League, and Great Witchingham have lost again, so they're sort of struggling to get things rolling up there. Jake Weatherald, who obviously is a massive overseas signing for them, just struggling to get going full stop. It's club cricket wickets aren't necessarily what he's used to playing on over in Australia, and it's proving to be a difficult start for them. So they need to do something pretty quick to get things rolling. Otherwise, they could be in a bit of trouble. It is a pretty topsy-turvy league. Obviously, there's been a few cancellations about, so nobody's won 3 out of 3. But the teams are beating each other, and it's not a league where somebody is going to run away with it by the looks of things. But yeah, it's a tough start for Great Witchingham. Mildenhall absolutely thrashed Saffron Walden. Massive performance for them. 83 all out Saffron Walden, and then it knocked it off without loss. So that's a solid start for them. Solid win for them this weekend. Bury done well again. I think is that their second win. So pretty bowling out with them for 123 and knocking those off as well. So yeah, it's I think Ashman and Barton Wanderers came up, I think. Is that right?
Yes, they did.
They've not won, but they've still got on the board already. So and Swardston, who we knew were going to be strong. It was a tight game at Great Witchingham, so Great Witchingham are competing. They're just not quite making over the line. But yeah, Great Witchingham 161 all out, and Swardston 162 for 8.
Let's move very quickly to the Liverpool and District competition. I tweeted on Saturday that I think the first Premier League game of the weekend was finished when New Brighton were bowled out for 39 and Leigh Cricket Club knocked them off for 8.2 overs. But to be bowled out for 39 in your first game of the season, with 2 players taking 4 for not the best start for New Brighton. Ironically, Matty McKiernan of Leigh didn't even need to bowl. He just came on and scored 21 to help knock those runs off really quickly. So not the best start for New Brighton there. Southport and Birkdale were blown away by Formby as well at the weekend. We were talking to Tom Evans a few weeks ago, and the Southport and Birkdale were blown away by George Burrows, I think it was, 5 for 25. Pretty much easy day out there. I know Tom was reporting from that game. Champions last year, Ormskirk, easy win again against Rainford. And Birkenhead Park, who were touted as one of the teams to look out for, had their first home game of the season. They gave up 227 to Wigan. Aaron Redmond scoring 96, Adnan Mikhail 26, and Jordan Hampson 41. And then Birkenhead Park was 74 all out. Didn't really go the way they wanted to, with Avinash Yadav taking 3 for 9, Raheem Kassar 2 for 7, and Bradley Barrow 2 for 8. Wigan having a bit of a day out over on the Wirral there at Birkenhead Park, and I think that'll surprise 1 or 2 people, Hugh.
Yeah, I mean, the one that stood out for me, just following Sumit Ruarkar through his performances, but Sumit Ruarkar, although despite taking 7 wickets and getting 46 Wallasey were forced to cling on there, 8 down for 100 against Rainhill. So it's a very good performance from Rainhill. Jimmy, what's the lowest you've been bowled out for, Jimmy, when you've been playing?
Touch wood. I've never been out under about 50. I don't think I've ever been out below 50 or anything like that.
Even in junior games,
I
stuff
don't
like
think
that?
so. Honestly, I might be
That's
wrong.
too good, mate.
I'm probably wrong, but not off recollection, put it that way.
So following my tweet on Saturday with New Brighton being bowled out pretty early on Monday, the Northern Premier League had a round of fixtures and Exton decided to get the game over quickly, with Exton being bowled out for 29. Declan Clerkin, 5 for 12, and friend of the pod, Matthew Siddle, who's gone to Fleetwood this year, 4 for 7. And that's a spinner, Jimmy. So 4 for 7, you'd be quite happy with that, wouldn't you?
That, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, nice early finish on a bank holiday. Exton had obviously gone up to Fleetwood and they'd have been back down the M6 bloody quickly there, to say the least.
They took a few with them, though. They were 4 wickets down, so it was 32 for 4. I mean, the scorecard is essentially carnage. And Declan Clerk had just managed to put a bit of leather on Willow, or Willow on leather, that way round.
It's one of those days today.
And we're often, it's all going on. So he got it done, but it's, that was a messy game. Yeah. I think conditions did for
Most
that one.
Definitely. There was a number of games abandoned over the weekend, unfortunately, in the Northern Prem, which didn't help, but Fleetwood, 2 wins in 3 days there. They'd be more than happy with that. Leyland got a win on Saturday and then followed up with a second win again on Monday. So again, anyone who's winning 2 games in 3 days in the Northern Prem is going to be really happy with that. And Settle in the Premier League this year again. 203 they were chasing from Longridge and scored 204 for 8. And Settle have been really, really good to bring into the league. There's been a lot of people giving them a lot of plaudits for going up there, from friends and family that I know up that way. Amorula scored 80 off 88 balls. And a great start to their season for them to get things going up in the Northern Prem. Can we look at the Lancashire League? There wasn't a lot of runs in Lancashire, is the best way to describe it.
No, Lancashire, quite a lot of carnage, as you'd expect. Lots of 90 all-outs, 75 all-out. Yeah, that's the lowest, 104 all-out. So, it was a tough weekend for batsmen in Lancashire. Hopefully, with the forecast being what it is, we'll see a few more runs on the board over the coming week. Only one
score over 200. And that was for Lower House. And shout out to the guy who scored the runs. Ben Heap scored 52. Benjamin Heap on play cricket. Ben Heap. And Ben has now scored enough runs to take him into 3rd place in Lower House's all-time list of run scorers. Stan Heaton had been in 3rd place for many years, but he's been overtaken by Ben Heap, who will probably now take over Brian Higgin for 2nd place in a couple of weeks' time. And it's his Uncle Chris, Ben's Uncle Chris, who holds the top spot. Heap family all over the place at Lower House Cricket Club, and good on them, and thanks to Adam Hope and Paul Hargreaves for that information that they put out. So, there's been some shockers over the weekend there then, Jimmy. You've listened to us waffle on about some of the low scores that have been going on. We've asked you, and you've never been bowled out for that many. Who do you think is going to shock 1 or 2 people in the Derbyshire League this year, though?
What way?
Any way possible. You're thinking you might shock 1 or 2 yourselves?
Well, hopefully. That's the aim. We've already had one giant killing, if you want to call it that. So hopefully there's a couple more along the line and we'll be right up for it, right up for the challenge.
Any of the other teams that you could see surprising people on what they've done previously? The Ralstons or the Olroses, who were mid-table last season, or Swarkston, will they be able to repeat? They had a lot of people leave last season, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, but I think they've recruited well. I think they've brought a few players in that look handy. Oscar Gaunt, I know, has gone there with a few more. So I think they'll still be up there, don't get me wrong. And I think it'll be an interesting season at the top of the table, because, like you say, Swarkston have lost a few, but you'd still put money on them as your favourites, if you put it that way, for the league.
So go on then. Final question. Who's going to win it?
Money on Swarkston. If I had to put my money on it, yeah, that's where it'd be.
Okay. Did you hear that, Josh Glover? He's put money on Swarkston. Come on. Yeah. He wasn't big enough to say, we'll do it ourselves. But you want to be part of that conversation in the last 6 weeks, don't you, Jimmy?
Maybe if we get into the later end of the season and we're still doing all right, maybe I'll throw our name in it then. But we're a long way away. Like I said, we know where we're at, but our timeline's in a few years when when our boys get a little bit older and we're ready to take them on.
You've had a great start to the season though, mate. Really, really good start. I'm really pleased I came along to see you guys at training a few weeks ago as well and get to know one or two of the lads. Great start on socials, as Hugh said, right through the winter. You've been right on it, and to start the season the way you have, you couldn't have asked for much more, could you?
No, massive shout out to Rich, who does all our socials. He is fantastic, and yeah, if we can keep that up, then sky's the limit at Sawley. And keep your eye out for us. Maybe not this year, but a few years' time, keep your eye out 100%.
Yeah, well, we'll be watching week in, week out, because guess what? That's all we ever do, isn't it, Hugh? We've done our usual whistle-stop tour around the country. It's going to get faster and faster week in, week out. There's going to be 32 leagues to talk about next week. We'll probably focus on, I don't know, around 10 leagues per week and sort of rotate it, because it is impossible to do all 32 in one go. But if we'll missed anyone out this week, we do apologise. We'll get back to you though, I'm sure, and I'm sure you'll let us know on socials, because most people do if we miss something. So thanks again for your time, Jimmy. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to catching up with you during the season.
No worries, 100%. Look forward to catching up with you too.
Cheers, Hugh.
All right.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks for listening to the Premier League Cricket Show. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes and stay updated on all the latest news, views and discussions from around the cricket's Premier Leagues. And be sure to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at TPL Cricket Show on both. Join the conversation, share your thoughts and connect with us and your fellow Premier League cricket fans. And hey, if you enjoyed the show, why not show us some love? Leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast platform, as it helps other potential listeners to find us when they're searching for cricketing podcasts. Thanks again for being part of the Premier League Cricket Show family, and until next time, have a good one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.